Education for Technology and Arts Management, we're going to be going through a few different videos that look at different approaches to communications that would influence our creative projects and our arts ventures. These are going to be categorized into the way that we share content, the way that we might post things externally, and the way we would communicate with each other internally. There'll be a little bit of demonstration in here, but I want to get us started with being able to talk about the different sort of platforms that you have available to you. While you have the piece that you might be working on, whether or not it's a show, or it's actually just communicating about the company that you might be working with itself, or whatever your venture might be, that core model doesn't mean anything unless you're able to tell people about it. And that sometimes means people that you're working with, and sometimes it means people that you would like to come and enjoy that event, or to purchase a ticket, or to, however you'd like to, be involved with the type of event, product, etc. that you are trying to put out there into the world. It's worth considering, when's the last time you noticed or took note of something online that stuck with you, that inspired you to take action on something, that had a call to action to it. There might be something of a meme, a video, whether or not it's a TikTok or a reel, that has somehow stuck with you, that you have shared it, or it has made you want to travel, or inspired you to take up a specific type of hobby or cook something. Whatever that thing is that inspired you, it's important for you to consider how long has it been online. There are some times when you might post something that it doesn't get seen for a while, or that it doesn't receive the level of popularity and attention that you would like for a while. Things take a little bit of time to take off, and sometimes then they can take off very quickly. In this video, we're going to take a look at where you can put things so that they become visible and potentially shareable, or not, depending on how you would like to use them. We're going to look at different types of media content and where you might store those so that they could be discovered or monetized, or otherwise be used for collaboration within your projects. Some of these may be very useful for you to think about how to do sharing when it comes to your website project. Starting with photos, one of the most common ways to share photos would be through a photo sharing site like Flickr, which allows you to upload your photos and put them into different types of albums with different types of permissions that then you can put them outward. Now you can also use something like Google Photos, which if you have an Android phone or you install Google Photos on your Apple iOS phone, that it will automatically upload and back those up. Usually when you allow it to convert those to a smaller lossy file format, then you have nearly unlimited storage. You can also pay for additional storage if you want them to keep at full resolution. Both of these platforms allow you to then share them outwardly. You can also create collaborative albums in which you can put together things from multiple people. They might have different purposes though. Flickr allows you to create a searchable database that other people can search and find your photos. The purpose of it is to share photos with other people. You can also in various ways monetize that and set the various types of licenses in which other people can use those photos, as opposed to Google Photos, which is going to allow you to share and create combined albums, and it might be useful for internal collaboration, but no one's going to be able to search those necessarily. There are other ways that it might be useful in its integration, such if you're using Google Maps and you have photos of your business that you want to include within its listing, your Google business listing or your Google Maps listing, then you can attach those pretty easily from your Google Photos setup or upload them later. But it's not going to have the same ability to share, monetize, or make available for other people to use your photos as you would if you put it on a site like Flickr. If you're looking at sharing video, the most common way to do that, and where you're seeing this video hosted right now, is on YouTube. You can also look at other types of video hosting sites. Perhaps the most well-known beyond YouTube is going to be Vimeo. Now, YouTube is great for discoverability. It's a place where you have constant upload of original content, both long form and then short form, sometimes in the form of shorts, meant to compete with things like Instagram and TikTok. The benefit of YouTube is that it's a massive player. It reaches nearly everywhere. The app is already built into most Android devices, and there's a high instance of usage on Apple iOS devices as well. Many people are used to using it. It's free to upload. You can upload as much content as you want. It does auto captioning. It will allow you to live stream, etc. It's where people might go, and it has a relatively robust algorithm system that leads to you being able to discover other things. It has its own issues though, because there is so much content on it. It is very easy to get lost within there and to not necessarily find an audience unless you're pointing somebody directly to it. On the other hand, you could be using Vimeo, and Vimeo allows you to host as many videos as you want, but you do have to pay for that storage. It is mainly used and geared towards professionals who are trying to build a video portfolio. It has a section for you to be able to establish yourself as a creator that is available for hire. So the idea is less that you're a creator who's taking the benefits of the social media infrastructure of YouTube, in which it is going to be allowing you to monetize your videos, put ads on it, etc. That's not going to happen on Vimeo, but it would allow you to advertise your services if you are a media creator, so that you can have a portfolio of the type of work that you do and say, I'm available for hire. While both platforms actually allow you to live stream, Vimeo's is built off of what used to be livestream.com and is around the idea of embedding it and using it in other places, not just putting it onto Vimeo. That being said, if you do use Vimeo's live streaming capabilities, it has the ability to restream it over to YouTube. So if you have a YouTube channel, you can have it there, as well as your other social channels. The other benefits of Vimeo over YouTube is that if you wanted to monetize your videos by offering subscriptions or creating your own app that you could put on an over-the-top service, something that would appear on a Roku or an Apple TV or an Amazon TV or on Google TV, one of those streaming boxes, or if it's built into the television, that Vimeo allows you to do that and manage out there. It's really about creating a very dedicated and single channel where Vimeo recedes into the background. It's about showcasing the work as opposed to the network in which you're posting it. So each of these have slightly different audiences, and it depends on how you want to catalog those. Let's briefly take a look at what the upload for each of these platforms looks like. We're going to put something onto YouTube and go through what its process of checks are, and I'll show you what it looks like on Vimeo. Now, I will note that I use Vimeo as a media creator, and so I have a paid account for things, so things might look differently if you were to use a free or different tier of service with Vimeo. But you'll get the general idea of how you set up the permissions for sharing, download, etc., and can catalog those things. Now, while YouTube has social components to it, you have an account and you can share it with people, and there is a comment section, and those things are to some extent included within Vimeo, but people aren't necessarily going through the same discovery process when they are recommended things. The ability to then share the content through social media is implicit in both of them, and you can also do that directly onto social media platforms. Whether or not that's TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook itself, those things can be integrated so that you can post videos there. One of the big shifts that's happened is because those tend to be app-based and geared towards short-form content is also the direction or orientation of that video. Whether or not it's going to be horizontal, a landscape view like I do these videos in, or it's to be as though somebody is holding their phone upright and going to be in that portrait orientation. With each of those, there are different types of content and expectations of how you're interacting with somebody that will guide you in the types of content that you're sharing through those. When you are creating something for an arts project, you're sharing something like rehearsal photo or test footage that you're doing for certain types of platforms, or you're doing for a proscenium stage, these might be something that you're going to use YouTube or Vimeo to share because you want that widescreen format. On the other hand, if you are looking to share primarily for social purposes, in which there is direct-to-camera address, or you are giving someone insight into a process and what you're doing, so you have a much more public sharing, those might go on to something in that TikTok style that has now been emulated across many other social platforms. When you are moving things from something that you share directly or inviting somebody to through a limited audience and moving into that social sphere, you're going to be looking at how those get integrated and how virality is playing a part in that. When somebody is discovering something on a YouTube, on a TikTok, on the For You page, or whether or not that's through Instagram Reels, there's an algorithm at play that is trying to keep somebody engaged and putting your content into a stream of other videos that are going to be somehow related, and somehow that platform has figured out what somebody wants to look at through other things and other things that they've interacted with. This is based off of the length of time someone spends with a video, whether or not they've interacted with it by either giving it a like or commenting on it or replying to somebody's comment or shared it. Any of those things indicate to one of those platforms that you would like to see more content like that. So if you're looking for discoverability, oftentimes what you're being steered to do is, how do I create this content so somebody's going to interact with it and spend more time on it, so that it shows up more often on their feed and the feed of people who have similar interests to them or are in their social network. The use of any of these platforms, and therefore the algorithm that actually feeds it to people, is going to be something that is going to have a little bit of machine learning or AI behind it. There is also the concern that you might have with content that is actually AI generated, so content that is either image generated from text or animating things from images that you've created. You have to keep in mind that most copyright law, at least conventionally at this point, is going to point you towards the idea that any content to be protected and yours does need to be human generated. Now, the US Copyright Office has released guidance towards this, and there is investigation towards how this impacts cultural sovereignty of Canada. This was just recently discussed in Ottawa, that if a piece of content is discernibly provable of being able to be guided in its creation by a human, then it can hold copyright. But if it is purely AI derived, then it's not. Now, one of the things that you're seeing in the proliferation of AI slop, or sloppily made content that is AI generated, that is just churned out quickly, are things that then allow for someone to exploit those current forms of engagement based off of getting into people's feeds. There is some question there of that's the type of thing that you want. So be cautious when you start to engage with AI content of whether or not that is the perception that you want of whatever project that you're working on. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's something where you are looking to integrate AI into it, or it might be enhancing what you're doing. Other times people might be turned off by its use whole cloth, or it might guide it into being grouped with other pieces of content that you don't necessarily want associated with it. There's been a number of investigations into algorithms guiding people to otherwise what they might consider inappropriate AI content because of the weird sort of associations that come with it and its ability to invent things. Sometimes these algorithms go in interesting places, and you're going to want to make sure that to protect your own visibility and the way that you share content, that's there. People also will emulate content that does become popular and use AI platforms to be able to recreate it or recreate facsimiles of it. Be aware that once you put something out online, you lose a bit of control of it. There's nothing that really prevents anybody from taking any piece of content online in some way, shape, or form. Though you might put a watermark on something, you might have digital rights management on something, there might not be a download link for it. There seems to always be a way through screen grabs or various types of apps that know how to get around that. So know that once you put something publicly online, if it is available and searchable, it is something that you may lose control over. You may or may not be comfortable with that, so that's why you should think about the types of permissions that you put on your content. Do you want something to go directly to people that you want to, or are you open to everybody online? And while AI could allow you to create deep fakes, both audio and video, where you could have your own image or the image of a celebrity be manipulated to say something that they didn't say, or to somehow endorse something that they didn't endorse because their likeness is being recreated through those, there are useful purposes for AI, regardless of how you feel about that in the final content. For instance, adding the access layer of auto-generated captions is better perhaps than having no captions at all when you are posting a video online. That's an AI process in which it is listening to your video and creating those text-based captions for you which you may want to go back and edit. It's not a foolproof system, but which adds a layer of access that opens up your audience beyond what you're trying to do. Another place where AI is useful or not, depending on your perspective and your experience, is in content moderation. Any of the platforms that we might look at for sharing things online are going to have an acceptable use policy that tells you what you can and cannot do with it. And this oftentimes means you cannot post copyrighted content, at least that which doesn't belong to yourself, and that you have permissions to post. So while you might get into ambiguous territory with AI-generated content, whether or not that's copyrightable because of its human influence, if you do end up using music or images that belong to somebody else, these could get flagged, to the extent that if you use music that is from certain publishers, it is automated and there's already an AI agent listening to as many things as possible that are doing content checks that will allow you to post something or not. When you post something that might contain something, even if it's accidentally in the background of your video, like you're at a concert or an event in which somebody is playing copyrighted music and it appears in that, it could get flagged, the video could get taken down, muted, or that part of it cut out of it automatically. You can always appeal these things if you feel like this was done in error, but they will tell you that if you appeal for things and they redetermine it, that be careful because this could lead to other strikes against your account. So as you're posting content and looking to share that, be careful of who you're sharing it with and how you're sharing it to make sure the right person is getting it. There are times when you might be developing a project where you want to be able to share something that might have copyrighted content that you're not trying to have go public. So let's say that's a video, you might not want to post it onto YouTube, which might silence that and then put it into its algorithm as a public video. First, you might want to just put it as an unlisted or private video where you can share it with individual people one by one. If you want to keep it on YouTube, you could also put something like that on Vimeo where people aren't going to that platform in the same way. The content moderation works differently. Because it's geared towards Maker, they do have the ability to review content there. You do fall under the same rules. You are under the same legal obligations to have the rights to your content, but it does focus on the idea that you might be developing something.